What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today bring you more commentary from a live Duel Locals. This time this is the OTS Championship. On the right we have pure Maliss, or Maliss with the Agnista cards, and on the left we have a crazy concoction of Mitusu, Ryzeal and Fiendsmith. So it looks like we're going to be working off of the brand new March here, working our way all the way into the Lingaribo, into backup Agnista, into Splash Mage, and a hand trap was used there. I believe that would have been an Ash Blossom on the backup Agnista to stop it getting to Wizard. Working our way into Red Ransom to see if there is any more response from our opponent. That, unfortunately, not having a response allows you to go straight into Malice of Underground. Usually at this point here, you probably get hit with a Nibiru, but then you do have that ability to wait a little bit longer, exactly right here, to then Nibiru before the Dormouse can now utilize its effect. Obviously, it makes a bit of a difference if the Dormouse is used first turn, because then you always want to wait for the Malice in Underground to be activated. Otherwise, the Malice in Underground can technically act as an additional like extender from that point on, because if you nib too early, you put the Red Ransom in the grave for them, they can then just go, okay, cool, activate the Malice in Underground, go for White Rabbit or anything else you might need. So you can see how powerful Nibiru is in this particular matchup right now. So setting one, revealing the Amano Makumo. This is going to allow them to... This card's like just crazy good. I absolutely love this. As a TCG exclusive, I'm also grateful that it was a super rare, because if it was anything higher, it would have been absolutely mental. Not the Makumo, sorry, the Habakuri. Always mix them up a little bit. That gets ashed. But then we just go, okay, cool. Well, that's been ashed. Fiendsmith tracked. And this is what happens when you're able to mix three of the best engines or decks or whatever together. You kind of get this unstoppable force of, you go, right, well, I can either use my Fiendsmith to bait out if I want my Habakuri to resolve, or I can use my Habakuri to bait out so that I want my Fiendsmith to resolve. And then what you're doing is you're basically checking off every type of hand trap. And what I mean by that is, if your Habakuri resolves, more than not, you're probably going to play through the Ash Blossom. If it resolves and it gets drolled, you go, okay, well, as long as you don't open up Tractor or Engraver, and you can still normal summon down the Lacrima and make plays from there, it looks like nothing more was set. Now, I do believe the Fiendsmith build doesn't have... They only have like one Tractor and one Engraver, or one Tractor and two Engravers or something, as they've put this deck together. I remember them saying at the end of the tournament. So... has been a lot of trading back and forth, ending on like a bit of damage before going into the sequence, which makes sense. And obviously trying to clear off the tokens quite important. We're going to very early go straight into the Requiem, like Lacrima into the Requiem. That then means we can use Requiem's effect, which can hopefully, unless they don't play it, set up the Paradise or side it in. Still gives them, in a very simplified game state, when it's like one or two cards versus this current field, you could probably say that unless that card they have is something insane like a Bestial, it looks like there's a second March here. So going for the March here. At this point, you just go, I think this is going to work its way into Paradise. Like, yeah, Lacrima, send in Paradise. Yeah, there you go. There's the Paradise. And then, oh, it was Chessy Cat, sorry. It wasn't even Paradise. Sorry, it wasn't even... wasn't anything else, and it means that the other card in hand wouldn't have been a Malice card, so it means it couldn't have been banished. So just going out to Lacrima, setting up the Paradise, just gives them enough to kind of slow this game back down. And the endless recursion that this is going to provide is just too much now, because you're going to be able to go, cool, Neko Quip, work its way back, just get a bit of a nib check, bring back the Engraver, overlay those two, go into Wave King, and then you kind of just keep it very simple from that point on. So swiftly into game number 2. So it looks like Malice is going to be able to go first again. Are we going to be starting off at anything better than a March Hare? Apologies for the glare. That is either Chessy Cat or March Hare. We'll soon find out. That is a Chessy Cat. Oh, with no other Malice in the hand, really? Going to Lingaribo. Lingaribo. Maybe there's a March Hare in the hand to banish. Oh, it's the backup Agnista. Hard open of that one. Linking those two together to go into Splash Mage. Splash Mage's effect to revive Chessy Cat. Linking these two into Red Ransom. Okay, Red Ransom. Assuming going for Malice in Underground. We're just going to see a repeat of game 1. Going for Malice in Underground. Utilize this card now. Banishing Dormouse. Yep. Deja Vu. Dormouse comes back. Utilizing Dormouse's effect. Going for Rabbit. You can assume that at this point here that there is no Nibiru in his opponent's hand. Otherwise, you know that's going to get slapped down, as we saw in game 1. Is there any interaction to stop the White Rabbit? Doesn't look like it, so we're going for the GWC. I still like to play a TB11. I understand people don't, but then to be fair, I haven't played Malice since the new cards came out. I refused to pay for March Hairs. I was like, I'll wait for March Hairs. I'm in no desperate rush. As I feel that the Malice are kind of like the Thunder Dragons of this format, and what I mean by that is they're one of the decks that will... They might become the bride every now and then, but more times than not, they are the bridesmaid. They are finishing second. It's just... With the Mitsurugis, because the more successful Mitsurugis are like hybrids, they can play through a silver bullet in the form of the Drow and Lockbird. Whereas with Malice, they don't really have an additional hybrid that allows them to do that unless you play Fiendsmith, and then there's no guarantee that the Fiendsmith actually ups the consistency of the Malice deck. Bestials aren't massively effective, but we might see Malice Bestial come back into rotation just because of the popularity of the Mitsurugis. But even then, it still becomes a little bit awkward. You can kind of see how powerful Malice are if they do go off unanswered, and they can be quite resilient, but I feel that multiple hand traps really will do stop them, and then Nibiru can be a bit of an issue for them. And then we all know that games 2 and 3 just become even harder because a Lancia, unless you've hard opened up access to a backup at Ignister or a Wizard, pretty much just ends your turn at that point, and which isn't an ideal scenario that you want to be in. So going into Heart Scriptor, like, I love Heart Scriptor. I think it's like... I kind of bounced around all of the extra deck monsters for Malice. Like, first of all, I liked Red Ransom. I was like, you know what, everyone's focusing on White Binder and Heart Scriptor. I really do like Red Ransom just because it's the one that got everything ticking and everything going. Then as it kind of went on, I was like, okay, actually, White Binder is so core and so important into the strategy and how it all works. That then became, I was like, okay, I understand why this is now the favourite. And then Heart Scriptor just kept getting overlooked. And I was like, okay, cool. Now I fully understand. Heart Scriptor is the Mac Daddy Queen. Like, you've got Red Ransom, which is your like starter to get everything, or to keep everything ticking. You've got your White Binder, which is, as it says, like it's the binder, it's the thing that keeps everything moving. So once Red Ransom gets it going and gets it resilient, White Binder lets it carry on going through and becomes your disruptor. And then the overall killer is, of course, your Red Ransom after you come off the back of something like an access code talker. Anyway, I babbled on long enough there. Looks like we've got the alloy code at Ignister, the brand new Link 5 on this one. And what you need to remember as well is some of the Malice cards do get additional effects if they are pointing to certain cards, which is really quite useful, especially in some matchups like this. So it looks like we started off with Prez. Not too sure exactly what got discarded there, but we shall soon see depending on what gets sorted. Was it Attract? No, it was an Engraver. And then a Droll. That's probably like the best time to Droll that, because then it's like, okay, cool. But this is what I mean. This is what makes it so good and so versatile. Is, yes, you've run into Droll, but now if you go into the Ryzeals, you can still present a field with like detonators and everything else. And the Mitsurugis allow you to bring stuff back from the graveyard. So if you already have ways to get stuff to the graveyard or ritual tribute from the deck and everything else in between, it just allows you to go, well, where Droll would normally stop Fiendsmith after that point, it keeps on going. So X sending Agitator, pretty standard on this one. You're going to try and negate the Ally Code Talker. And then X will be 2. Like, this little mini combo inside a Ryzeal deck is just so crazy because it's like, yeah, cool. Not only can I chain block my negate, but I'm also going to be a negate. It looks like the Allied Code Talk is going to be used in response to kind of deal with one of them. I'm assuming it was Chainlink 1. No. It looked like Agitator resolved, right? Because we didn't see a search off of X. Interesting. So also on the Ice, activating the Malice in Mirror, which is the brand new spell card, which banishes a Malice and then allows you to technically negate the Ice. So that's still a very good interaction. I like Malice in Mirror as well. I think it's a really cool card. It's just a shame. Like, I like the theme of Malice. I love the fact that it was Alice in Wonderland. I always felt that that's quite a fascinating, kind of like trippy story. Card design, a little bit differentiation. A little bit different on that one, I guess. Like, I felt they could have been a bit more, you know. But yeah. So GWC, this is just what happens when Malice goes off, though. Like, this is still really good. GWC, you've brought back White Binder. White Binder is going to banish the White Rabbit. White Rabbit's going to attempt to come back to the field, which then work it into the MTP07, which only then sets up a non-target banish. But it looks like, I'm assuming you want to keep are we keeping the White Rabbit banished so that Heart Scriptor can deal with whatever comes out next? Exciton Knight. Okay, that's a good rank 4 to make, because what you've now done is you've now put your opponent in this position with like, okay, well, if you activate, if you activate Heart Scripter, which is exactly what's going to happen here, Exton Knight's just going to get chained. And if Exton Knight was activated, you'd then be able to go from there. Now, because the Maliss cards, both the White Binder and Red Ransom, point to Dormouse. Now, I'm not too sure of this off the top of my head. I'm just trying to see if I've got a Dormouse to one side. Link monsters that point to this card cannot be destroyed by card effects. I'm not sure if it's like a simultaneous thing where they'll still go regardless, but could be wrong on that one. It looks like it was ruled that they both stayed. And it looks like we're going to be activating the Mitsurugi Ritual. So this is what I mean. This is still crazy because this is playing through Droll. Like, Droll has stopped the Fiendsmith part, but the Mitsurugis and the Ryzeals are still able to go. This is why it's just so much crazy good gas. So, Ritual summon the Habakuri from the hand, sorry. Tributing from the deck. All of his opponent's monsters lose 800. It looks like we're adding back from the graveyard as well with the monsters tributed. The Heart Scripter, sorry, is not 5k. It's still 25 at this moment in time. So we're going to activate the Ritual again for a second time. This time we'll be tributing from the hand or field to then Ritual summon from the deck. Again, kind of don't really care about Droll and Lockbird. Goes in the Amamo Kumo, which is going to like Raigeki the field, which destroys both Heart Scripter and White Binder. So you can kind of see how he was able to navigate through that field, which is massively impressive because you had to deal with an allied code, the route through for an MTP, a Heart Scripter, a White Binder, Red Ransom. I think the only mistake was probably not getting the trap card and leaving it banished for the Heart Scripter. At least with the if you set the MTP 07, you could have shotgunned the MTP 07 a little bit earlier, shut off the X'd, or shut off the route to the XYZ, and then so it looks like Hair is going to banish. This is where Maliss is so scary because if they go off unanswered and your opponent can't clear their own Amano Kumo off to then revive it and then do the Raigeki. If they can't tribute it off, then this is just so crazy. Access code, gain 3k, goes up to 5-3, and then Heart Scripts comes back at 5k. It's just, yeah, disgustingly good. Moving into that all-important game 3. So starting off in the draw phase with Floros, is there an Ash Blossom in return? And this is what I love about the deck as well, is technically, if it wanted to, it could give them pretty much nothing off of the Floros. You could be like, well, if I feel I've got enough hand traps to kind of hold my own, but enough to get the Mirakumo. Oh, it looks like there is an Ash Blossom. And enough to get the Mirakumo going, the Mitsurugis going. You can just go all Mitsurugis and don't summon from the deck and don't give them any draw for Floros. So I suppose at that point it must have been one of the ones where they're like, nah, I have to kind of access either the Fiendsmith engine or the Ryzeal engine. So I don't want to give any draws off of Floros. So the Ash was kind of worth the sacrifice. Took a decent amount of time to think about it, but like wasn't like too long. It was definitely just, what I'm trying to say is it was definitely something that needed to be thought about. It's usually a lot of players will shotgun. They'll go, cool, I've got the Ash, boom, shotgun it straight away. Whereas if they stop and think about it, they're like, oh, my hand isn't that good. I wouldn't have given them any draws anyway. It's just not worth it. But you can kind of see here how we're working through. I believe like hard opening up one of the level 4s, especially in this deck as well. I don't know if the deck's like 40. I think it's like 45. Must be. To have all those engine and hand traps is just crazy. So Habakuri Reveal, obviously you can only use that once per game. That then tributes, summons like this, not the Saji, but the other one, to tribute off, put it to the grave, which lets you add one back from the grave. Activating the Mitsurugi Ritual, tributing from the hand. Tributing from the deck. Yeah, tributing from the deck to get you the Amakumo. Getting the prayers, which is the way that you contribute off your Amakumo to then bring it back, which gives you that Raigeki during your opponent's turn. And now we're going to start bridging into the, yeah, there we go, bridging into the Ryzeal kind of engine. So this is why it's so good as well. It's like technically the Ryzeal can bridge into the Mitsurugis and the Mitsurugis can bridge into the Ryzeal, which is just disgusting. So we've got X, then we've got Sword, no Droll. God, I bet he wished that Floros had resolved now, because at this point I think we would have got only one draw, right? Yeah, only one draw at the moment, which would have been off the back of Duo Drive. But then there probably would have been more plays coming off of it. So you do need to be a little bit cautious, which is why the Ash Blossom is actually really, really important and favourable right now. Because you'll probably want to get to the Duo Drive, which would have been 2 draws. And that's before you even consider going into Fiendsmith, which I don't think they can now. I'm pretty sure their XE's locked. But, you know, Detonator's at 1 for a reason. Like, the card is that crazy good. Detonator to attach from the grave. We don't know if that is... Oh my god, and the Frost as well for the Sanctum. Yo! Oh, mate. So, it's a Detonator, a Raigeki in the Amakumo, and then a Shotgun Early Doors Lancia. The only way this Lancia gets stopped is if the opponent has an Ash Blossom of their own. Unfortunately, even if your opponent has the Ash Blossom for your Fluros, it doesn't mean you've got the Ash Blossom for their Sanctum. Also need to remember as well that the Aramakumo could technically be triggered to then force you to discard another card, which is, yeah, crazy good. So we're getting the Artifact Lancer to the field. We're going to chain the Artifact Lancer here now on resolution. And it looks like we're going to be chaining a Malice in Mirror to try and negate the Detonator. Respectable. I would be curious to see how many Malice in Mirrors they're playing. Again, that's still another card that I haven't really tested out. Well, there you go. There's my answer. There's definitely 2 of them. Oh, that bloody Chessie Cat again. Oh, well, banish that Chessie Cat. That Chessie Cat's coming back. I suppose you probably didn't want to be discarding a Malice card though, right? Like, you would have much rather banished the Malice card to get you a draw 2. Oh, sorry, ignore all that because I forgot that Artifact Lancer has been used. So you had to banish the cat, get the cat back to the field. I bet you wish you have a Typhon right about now. That's kind of like the only card I can think that helps you out this field. And even though it doesn't perfectly help you out the field because it will just allow you to return a card. And that's about it. Oh, hard open to the backup Agnista. That's not bad. Someone done the Agnista using the effect. We've got Murakumo and we've also got... We haven't got Detonator anymore because Detonator's been negated. Wizard. Wizard's a really kind of good card for the Agnista strategy, or just like Cyber strategy in general is kind of cool. What's this remaining? So we know the remaining card is Prayers, right? Or you would assume it's Prayers, which is just going to set up the Raigeki off of the back of the Murakumo. Yeah, Prayers, true it off the Murakumo. Murakumo's effect to... Well, you got to resolve this first. Resolve the Prayers, summon out, and then search out the Habakuri. Murakumo's effect, because he tributed a monster, to add back the Prayers, bring back the Murakumo. Murakumo's effect, search out a second Prayers, and then Murakumo to destroy the field. Like, when you're on the Lancia and you've just had your field wipe and you're staring down a Detonator, a Duo Drive, and a Murakumo, and another Mitsurugi defense, it's not looking too porous, no, and it looks like they just scoop it up. That seems to be pretty much it. Yeah, I mean, we got to see the best of both decks there. I just feel that it's one of them ones that when you go off unanswered, this is why hand traps are so important in the game. I don't think board breakers are like that good because like one board breaker can't do the exact same thing like that a Lancia, that a Droll, that a Fluros does. But on the flip side of that is the Fluros does have an answer to it. Like you have Ash, whereas with Droll and Lancia, you don't really have direct answers to them. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe and happy dueling.